Hello, everybody. So last year at Cake International, Bronya and I were very excited to sit down and rest our tired feet at Bake International stage and watch a demo with Suzanne Esper and Laura Lane making salted caramel sauce, which
So
I've done.
good.
I've done at home now, and it's delicious. It is
So
really
good.
nice. And although we were all jumping up and down with you as well, because you were doing competitions and shout outs and things like that, with the audience participation was brilliant. I was also lucky enough to win the Esper Lane Christmas online class, which again has been brilliant. I think I've had that as product of the week. I'm pretty
Yes,
sure
you
I have.
have. You have.
So we are delighted to introduce our guest today, Suzanne. Whoa. Hello, Suzanne.
Yay.
Thank you for coming
Hi.
along.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. Delighted to be here.
It's brilliant. We know you from your cake school, obviously, but would you be able to tell us a little bit more about you and about all the amazing things that you do?
Sure. So I was not always a cake maker, funnily enough. Like I think everybody in the cake industry has a backstory.
Yeah.
And mine was certainly not cakes. In fact, I was probably one of the worst bakers there were. Very not good at cake decorating or anything. So my career started as a scientist. So I used to study virology and cancer research.
Wow.
And I lived down in Birmingham for like 10 years or so. I did a PhD. I met my husband up here in Scotland, and we moved down.
So are we talking to Doctor Suzanne?
Yes, you are.
Wow. Okay.
That's like another part of my life that we don't talk about anymore, but it's fun. And it's like, it's a funny thing because you forget like your whole like kind of history of education and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like I love the fact that it's brought me here. Like so without that journey, I probably wouldn't be the person I am. So I met my husband in Scotland and we moved to Birmingham. We stayed there for about 10 years. But then I had a kind of longing to come home and like start a family, get married. So we came back up. I got a job up in Scotland and like in Roslyn Institute. That's where Dolly the sheep was cloned.
Wow. Yeah.
And all was going great for about 2 years. And then I got made redundant. And in the meantime, I had started dabbling in cakes.
Right.
So for a long, like, going back a little bit, I had a car crash just as I moved back to Scotland. My husband was living still in Birmingham and I was commuting to Edinburgh one morning. I had a really bad car crash, so I was off work for a little bit. I'd just started the job. It was quite stressful. So my stress levels were through the roof, trying to impress a new boss, etc. And basically I was going through a really tough time. And my mum decided she was going to come see me and bring me a bag of goodies, which included sugar flour paraphernalia. Like I was never into anything like that. I loved art and I loved doing stuff, but I wasn't very good. And she used to bring me random bits and pieces all the time. And I'm quite a sentimental person. I don't like throwing things out.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Another bag of stuff. Like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I'm going to have to hide it in the house somewhere. And then fast forward, I got married, but before I got married, I started looking at different cakes, as you do, and I fell in love with cupcakes. So I saw all these wonderful things that you could do, and that was where, like, I started to get the fire and the actual wanting to make something, like with my hands. And it was like I was never good, and it was never my calling. But I decided this is what I was going to do.
Sorry, Sammy's dog's just arrived.
Yeah. Could you hear my son knocking the door? He was like, no. Oh, his face was, oh my God.
Oh, bless. You're fine. So yeah, it wasn't always my calling, but I suddenly got this desire to make cakes. So I remember telling my friends, I was like pregnant at the time, and I told my friends that I wanted to make cakes, and everybody laughed because like we're all sitting, it was a sunny afternoon, we were sitting outside my house and we were doing like a non-baby shower type thing because one of my other friends was pregnant. And they all laughed because we did our PhDs together, and they were like, oh gosh, you need to be good at it. And I said, well, I know, but I'll get better. And then it just took off from there.
So were they all also scientists then? So they've never really seen this creative side of you. They'd always seen like the academic, more academic sort of like scientist.
100%. We were all scientists. Majority of them are still in science, actually. It's really interesting because I think I was the only one that really broke away.
Right.
And, you know, it was like, well, I guess I kind of got pushed when I got made redundant. But I was so lucky that I'd started doing cakes at that point. So after like, after I had my first child, I started a night school. And it was like, it was a way of like getting release, you know, like just, it was all chaos and everything was going on with work. Like I was taking mad panic attacks every time I got stressed because of the car crash. It was all this continuous stuff. So every time I got stressed, I would be like, so I decided to go to this night school, and that was my 1 day a week just for me. And I loved it. So it was just learning just random bits of cake decorating. And again,
were you selling at this point, or were you?
No, it's just me just diving in. Like I had made cakes for people at work, and they all loved them. And they were like, "Oh, we'd buy these," and that's when I was like, "You are kidding me! Oh my God, I'm going to start a cake business! That was amazing!" And I came home that day from work, and I was like, "I need to pick a name." So my previous like cake name was Little Miss Fairy Cake. And because it was obviously cupcakes that got me into it at the start. And then what happens is you make cupcakes for people and you start to sell your wares, and then it becomes a birthday cake, and then it becomes a wedding cake. And before you know it, you're made redundant, and there is only really one choice, which was I wasn't good at anything else, so it has to be cake. You know, like it really made the decision easy for me, because what else was I going to do? I had, at this point, I had 2 young children. So I had to do something that worked around them, because, like, as you know, childcare is crazy when you don't have a job as well. And so it's like, I have to make the best of this. So I got made redundant while 3 months into maternity. And so so I decided the time, and I was still on maternity pay. So I decided at the end of the maternity, that's when day one was going to be the very next day of starting my cake sort of full-time business. And I think at that point, that's when my skills changed, because I could properly focus on it, and I had more skin in the game. It was no longer a side hustle. It was no longer, you know, like one of these things where I would do a cake and it would take me 5 days every evening, filling in around work and then traveling to Edinburgh and back. And, you know, and it was like, I've got to make this work. Like, this is it. Do you know, I've got these kids. So I've got to like bring in some money to the household. So that's kind of where that journey started. And then over the years, it kind of progressed. So I did get better and better. Thankfully, my skills increased. Thank goodness. I started to find my own style as well.
I think that's so important as well, isn't it? Because when you first start out, you're trying lots of different things, and you see and you go, oh, that's lovely, I'll give that a go, and oh, that's lovely, I'll give that a go. But once you get that, your niche, that's it, isn't it?
Well, very soon you work out what you're not good at. And that's equally as important, to work out what you are good at. And then, you know, I've always been good at, it's like, right, no, I'm absolutely terrible at that. I'm not going down that route. Which is really interesting, because we'll probably come to this in a bit about the baking side of things, because I was never a baker. Like, I learned on the job. I literally, you know, just picked some recipes, got started in my cake business, and then that evolved as orders came in and people were asking for different flavours. I would add something else to my menu. But I was never really a confident baker, because my background was science. Although it's experimenting, like it's got a similar a logic. You've got to do things by the book. If you do something, you write down your changes, you know, like, so there's always that logic there. But it was something that I didn't feel fully confident in. And so that was something that I wanted to work on over the course of the next few years. But then I fell in love with sugar flowers and cakes. And like, I desperately wanted to move away from novelty cakes. I did a terrible modeler. Like, I'm not kidding, my first ever class was with a lovely local lady who is very well known in the industry. Her name was Lorraine McKay, and she made all the sugar models. And I used to pass her shop every day on the way to my work, and I would look in the window going, oh my goodness, like, can you imagine doing that? It blew me away. So the first ever class I booked onto was one of Lorraine's. So I was still doing science. I hadn't made any cakes ever. I hadn't covered a dummy. And I booked onto her class to treat myself. I was 8 months pregnant. So it was one of these ones, and she'd sent an email saying, you have to bring a covered dummy. And I was like, what's that? It was so kind. She actually sent me a video of how to cover a dummy, because I thought I was going to have to go to Marx's and buy it like a cake or something and turn up with this thing. And I made a bride and groom, and it was the ugliest, like the ugliest couple ever. But I loved just like starting something, and it built this fire. And then eventually the following year, Oliver was maybe 1 or 2, and I went to my first ever course with Paul Bradford. It's the classic chocolate wrap cake, the classic shoe, and a crazy lion face. And it was a brilliant week, because it was just something for me. So after that, it was like, I think I really want to do this. And it was all that was on my brain was cake 24/7. And I could convince the hubby that this was the right thing for me,
How did he feel about it all when you were like, I'm gonna do this?
Oh no, it was very supportive. But obviously, like, when you start the cake business, you're selling your cakes at probably not profit. Well, definitely not profit. And I think it's that imposter thing, when it's something that I wasn't born into. I didn't go to pastry school. I didn't, study culinary arts or anything. So I always felt like, I have to prove myself first. So I probably wasn't charging the right amount of money. And that was very evident when you start submitting your tax returns. And then the tears would come, and it was like, oh my God, I worked hard for a year and I've got nothing at the end of it. And I think for that, he could see how hard I was working. But obviously, I was bringing in an income because we needed that income. Both of us were contributing to the household, so it was working, but it wasn't as profitable as what it could have been had I had more confidence in my ability. But as my skills changed, and as I changed my business model, going from novelty into weddings, and it's not to say, we charge more money just because it's weddings, but as your skills change, and everything else, the quality of the product increases, so should the price. And I was really lucky, because I'd been on this exponential sort of move where my skills were getting better. I could charge more money, and my confidence grew. And that's when I decided, I'd been getting lots of questions about, are you going to teach? Could you teach? So I started my first couple of classes. Like, this is my second school.
Right.
So my first school is actually in my home, and it was a converted garage. So when I got made redundant, I used that money to convert my garage, because I'd been in the kitchen, and I had basically took over every cupboard in the house.
We've all been there.
I wore down we've got a beautiful worktop in our kitchen, and I wore it down with all ice and sugar, just because I had to get sanded so many times. It was like crazy. Like, cups were sticking, and it was like, plus we had a dog as well, so it was like, right, I really need my own space now. Like, this isn't just a part-time thing, this is full-time, and I really, really need to do something, and I can't grow as a business if I don't have the space in the area. So we converted, and that stood me well for many years until lockdown, when basically my online stuff. So I started online teaching 2018, and that was like sugar flower classes, and they went incredibly well. Like, it blew me away, because we live in this little isolated world where we feel like nobody knows who MD is. We don't, and it's maybe we don't really fully see what our skills are as well. So I was blown away when people were signing up, and it was like, oh my gosh, and they were asking for the next class and the next class. And then it kind of spiraled from there, and it was amazing. And then in lockdown, I did my third night school, and at this stage, there was no spare space to stand. I was standing on sugar flowers, because I had to keep my background really nice and clean and clear, like wall paints in the front. Every space had flowers, boxes of cutters, dust colours. Like, you couldn't walk through the room, and it was totally messing with my brain, because I've got undiagnosed ADHD, so I don't like clutter. And it was sending me into this creative slump, because I was like, I felt trapped in the room, and I
Yeah.
was like, and everybody was like, you know, in lockdown, like obviously kids were home, the hubby worked from home anyhow. He was out every day, like, you know, taking them out on their bike up and down, or like, because we live in a kind of farm area, and I was stuck in doing like the sugar flowers and teaching, and whilst that was the best thing that happened for my business, the room got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do something else. Like, I have to get out of here. And then I thought, obviously, at that point, we weren't going to do any in-person classes after that stage. But it was like, well, maybe I'll just like stick to the online teaching, because that had then been like about 3 years getting into it, you know.
Yeah.
And I started to miss people really badly.
Yeah.
And I think
I remember first going into lockdown and thinking, this is lovely. I don't have to go out. I don't have to see humans, because I think after a while, humans are just like, yeah, this is. But then after a while, it's like, yeah, I really need to get out. I need to start seeing someone other than my dogs and my husband.
Yeah,
it is very. And I think as cake makers, we all like you say, we all live in these little worlds, don't we? Where we isolate ourselves from the world, and we don't realise quite often about the other cake makers out there all going through the same.
100%.
Yeah. So it's
nice.
That's
what I was finding about my communities, like the sugar flower, we have mostly, I'd say we've got about 98% ladies and 2% men. And what I found was in lockdown, that was a real hub, a real community. And people were looking for this lifeline of just get themselves out of this crazy situation, something else to think about. And for me, it was great for me, because I didn't have to think about anything that was going on. It was like we were doing, like, I was watching YouTube videos in the morning, how to teach my son how to do maths. You know what I mean? Like, quick, get the jacket on. It's time to like do like a flower lesson. And it's like, it was a crazy period, but it was one of the best periods for me, and like obviously for my company, and be able to support everybody. But it was like I used like when I've made these courses, obviously there's money involved, and so I really invested that money in the new school here, so that I could actually get people in, because when I had the other studio, because of all the film kit, I had to take all it out at every class and then put it all back up again.
Oh my goodness. How many people can you get in your school now?
In this one, it's a maximum of 14.
That's
I don't like the numbers.
No.
Basically, because I had the space, I thought, if you're going to build something, build it to the biggest you can do. With what the money you have and the space that you have.
I remember following you. I remember following you on Instagram, and you having it built. Did you have foundations laid, and you filmed all the foundations and everything? And I remember following it.
Yeah, you couldn't realise. I couldn't grasp my head. I was like, God, I don't know how this stuff's going to fit in. You know what I mean? And it took me ages to figure out like what was going in here. But it was like, I only want to do this once. Like, and it's been like, it's been crazy. You know what I mean? But I love it. I love my space. It's still not how I want it. Too much.
Will it ever be? Seriously?
Probably
we've converted our garage, and I've got like a little cake studio out in our garage, and I'm always tinkering and moving little bits around, and going, what if I just had that over there? Would it be different? And it's just, but that's because we're creatives. We like things to be just right. And,
exactly.
Have a lot of the people that have come to your classes become your friends, or kind of like your cake family?
I think like when you, I don't know if I'm speaking for anybody else, but when you become a cake maker, like you seem to hang about with cake makers all the time. So like some of your friends will disappear because you're evolving into something else before, and then I'm just obsessed with cake, so all I feel like I do is talk about cake. So I'm not again. So we do tend to conjugate towards friends, and I've like met some wonderful people in our cake industry, many who and it's just like that's kept me going, really. It's been brilliant.
Because I think we can appreciate what we're all going through as well. We all know the life that we all live, so it's quite, when we get together, it's
quite nice to have a backup plan as well if you need a piece of equipment.
Definitely. It's like, like when things go wrong, because nobody likes to talk about
failures or anything.
All the time, like you have to wing it, and it's like all we're doing is just trying to get through like our jobs, our classes, our like cake orders, and like the way that I always say it to the students as well, things will go wrong, but if you can build in a little bit of time, everything's fixable, so long as you have that extra hour or two, like a day, like so you're always ahead of the curve, and you just plan yourself a little bit better, which is really difficult for somebody who's not got a structured brain, you know, like myself, like mum. It's just like, I'm like, oh, I've got to do all this stuff, I've got 50 million tabs open. So it's like, it's difficult, and I know that, but there's processes, and I think I've tried to relay those in my classes as well. This is what I did in my business to make sure that, you know, we deliver in the best that we can deliver, and we're not stressed out. Because if you're stressed out, the cake knows, and it's not going to.
It does, doesn't it? And
why?
If you hate a cake, your cake shows it.
Oh, 100%. It's like, you know, but there's been so many times I've went to bed thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be getting a complaint, like they'll be asking for their money back, and then you wake up in the morning and you've got fresher eyes, and it's like, actually, that's really nice. You know what I mean? It's like, this is really nice. This is exactly what they've asked, you know. But
we used to always say, because I used to have a shop, and Sammy, step away from the cake. So because Sammy used to work, me and Sammy used to work together at my shop, and it was one of those things, because when you were looking at something for too long, it grew legs, didn't it? And then we would always go, can you just have a look at this? And it would always be lovely, and it would always be wonderful, but in your head, you've looked at it for far too long. Just step away from the cake.
Well, there was one particular cake. This was before I actually got into wedding cakes. I was doing novelty stuff, and I was really not sure about this cake. And I called my husband through, and I was like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "Well, for one thing, like it's the wrong shape." It was like I had done the dreaded car cake, and it was I really didn't want to do it, but I had like it was for my nursery, my kid's nursery teacher, and she basically convinced me to do this, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was the most torture I've ever felt in my life. Like, I was like, you know, cursing it all the way through, going, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like, what was I thinking? No, this cake is just like, you know, I'm going to have to basically give them the cake and give them their money back as well at the same time. So, like, you know, I mean, like, you do have crash. When you ask for the feedback, sometimes you get answers that you don't want. And recently, last year I was doing a cake for the lovely Callie Hopper, and the pressure of that, because Callie is an incredible artist, an incredible sugar florist as well. So at class we're making her 70th birthday cake, and I'd made all the sugar flowers, so I sort of worked alongside her friend in Australia. We'd done quite a few calls about it, so I knew exactly what was happening with the cake, and I'd made all these beautiful flowers, and it was time to put them onto the cake. I actually did it in collaboration with Emily Hankins. She did the part of the cake, and I did the flowers. So Emily had her task, I had my task.
Was it online? I'm pretty sure I can remember the cake.
And basically, I arranged the flowers, and then I thought, I don't know. I took a photograph of it, sent it to Laura, and I know when Laura is like wanting to say something, she went, it's a bit wild. And I was like, oh no, because this is what I was thinking. It wasn't sitting quite right in my brain. So I had a whole stack of dummies that I was working on, because I always do that, like just as part of the perfectionism, isn't it? You try before you put on somebody's cake. And it was like, because it was cake, I was like, this has to be like, I'm putting it in the right places, you know what I mean? And I was like, And it had been a wee while since I've done like an actual cake order. So I was thinking, this is for Callie. This is, you know, I mean, people have seen it. This needs to go out. So anyway, I was like, right, do you know what? Thanks for that, because it wasn't sitting right in me. And so I ended up taking the flowers off and then going with fresh eyes and going, right, just do the classic Susie. Just put it where you think it should go. And it was fine, you know, it was absolutely beautiful. And
so was it just overthinking it? You just thought too much?
It's just like, because when like I was doing all the cake online classes and lockdown and all the rest of it, I had just done, like in 2019, I did my last wedding cake, because I was so busy with the teaching and in-person classes like every other weekend, and private lessons and online stuff. Like I just couldn't give everything to the wedding cakes anymore, and I didn't want to be bringing in people to help me, because I felt like I was cheating. You know, like if people were coming to me for the flowers, and you can't outsource that. Do you know what I mean? So I made the decision in 2019. I went out with the biggest cake that I'd done, and I loved it. I thought, right, that's me. But then since then, I've had a couple of orders that I haven't said no to because it's people like Callie. Also, I did Cameron from Cake Stuff wedding cake as well. So like, that was booked in ages ago, and it's like, you are doing my wedding cake, and I was like, yeah, I shall. But it's like when you come out of almost like cake retirement, you have this anxiety because there's a
cake
level
anxiety.
of you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to let anybody down, and you want to put your best foot forward. And as a recovering perfectionist, it's like you start to massively overthink everything. But thankfully, those cakes worked out.
I'm sure they and everyone loved them. So what is it? So you teach now. That is your bag. That is your thing. What is your favorite way to teach? Is it one-to-one? Is it video? Is it?
Well, before lockdown, I would have said it was in person. Then obviously after lockdown, it was online because suddenly, like, obviously I was teaching beforehand online, but it went boom, and there was people from all different countries, and I loved that. I loved the fact that we had this community of people who loved the same things, and they were all supporting each other. We've got one of the nicest communities. They're just so kind to each other as well, and encouraging. And it was like that was like, right, it was definitely in person, online, sorry. But now I like both. I've started up. I'm not doing a lot of in-person stuff. I'm just doing a couple of bits and pieces when it's the right time, you know, because I can't juggle everything, and I want to always do the best by what's going on. So we are hosting like a couple of guest tutors, but not many, just people that I know and friends. Then basically I'm running just a couple of classes in person, and obviously Laura and I, like from Esper Lane, we did our first in-person class last month. It was actually, we gave it away as part of the Christmas bundle. Fendi bought it. They went into a prize draw, and we gave like 10 spaces away. And
you did.
All over to join this class, and it was amazing. So we have a real buzz about that, and we were doing some baking classes. But I also find that when you're doing it with somebody else, like I've had several like collaborations with amazing, incredible women in the industry. Obviously, I had a collaboration with Natalie Porter. We did a business course, and then now Laura. And it's just like, I think when women come together, we can do something really special, like yourselves.
Yeah,
more together, and it's enjoyable. It's fun. You know, you have that companionship, and you can base this. And if you're on the same page, then you're moving faster.
Yeah, and you work as a team, don't you? Like Bronya's got better strong points in some things, and I've got better strong points 100%. In other. We work off each other.
Like, it's a good yin and yang. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
You know, the different aspects to each other, but as long as you like have the same vision, it's definitely a winner. So
See, Sammy and I call each other our cake wives, because it's like...
Oh, that's what we do as well. I've had many cake wives over the years, you know, but like I've got cake wives that like stick, and that's Laura. Like, I've got like you know, like I love Emily. Like there's some really amazing people that I've met in this industry.
Oh my God, yes, definitely.
Well, we do have questions. We haven't asked many yet, but we do have them.
I could talk the hind legs off a donkey.
But you know what, though? It's actually really lovely having someone that you can have a normal conversation. It's just a chat. It's just a lovely chat rather than going, right, where's the next question? So, yeah.
I'm glad you can understand the accent right enough.
Oh, yeah, no problem. No problem at all. So I don't know what question to ask now.
Just pick one.
Pick one. So can we talk about some of the products that you made?
Yes, please.
So I had one of you did I can't remember if it was a live where you did the stencil that you've made, and I watched the whole thing. I just love watching you. You're just so kind of how I bake in my kitchen, and you'll go back and you'll do this, but it's so methodical and neat and tidy. I'm not neat and tidy.
Oh my God. Laura would not agree with you. She says I go, I leave a trail of destruction. Like
but on camera.
The whole place.
On camera, you're neat and tidy.
Right. Well, it's only that wee square, but I never what used to make me laugh was everybody would think that everything was perfect, and I'm not kidding, just outside the line. I would always go, I can't find that cutter. And they'd be like, you know, thinking, but how? Because it's so tight, and it's like, because it was chaos and I put it somewhere. Yeah, I do try and be cleaning that little area. It's like, that's
you do very well. How do you go about designing all your products? Where do your ideas come from?
So when I did my first night school, I had a lot of people, because the first one was like 12 flowers, sugar flowers, and a lot of the students were saying, oh, do you know what would have been really good if you'd put a kit together for this whole thing? But at the time, just starting, I didn't have the available resources to buy all these cutters and to do all the things. And it was like, you know, that would be amazing. It's just, I can't see it happening for me. Like, I don't know.
It's quite an investment, isn't it? Investing in stock is actually quite a big thing to do.
It's huge. Yeah. Because if you're starting a lot of stock, like, you can have your money's all just tied up sitting on a shelf. So yeah, it was like I thought about it, and I did approach a few people, and it wasn't going to work at that point. I think because I was less well known at the time, you know, as well. So it was a bit of a risk for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But then I joined. I'm part of Cake Stuff Ambassadorship, and like I worked really, really close with them. Because they were obviously from Scotland as well. Now they're part of the CDC and the whole family there. And they were really encouraging, like, go for it. Like, just, like, you know, they got behind me and helped me get my first ranges in and put me in touch with the people that I needed to put in touch with, who didn't just see, like, you know, I guess it's like you have to convince companies to work with you as well sometimes. Like, and they might be able to take you at face value when you're saying, look, I've got these students and, like, I'm wanting to create these products. So that made it easier, definitely. And then obviously it's like, right, what would I want? Because, like, when I've been working along, I thought, wouldn't it be good if I had this or this? And then I've thought, well, I can get that created. This is brilliant. Like, I can get that made. So now I'm doing my own stencils. So we have a laser here, and, like, I'll be cutting, like, my own, like, acrylic plates and things like that. But it's not, like, I mean, it's not my main part of my business, but it's something that
so you cut your own stencils on site?
Yep. Now I do. I didn't at the start, but we got a laser last year. It's been a little bit of a test. How to use it, like, but I love it. And I love the freedom, because I'm learning. I've actually had a little bit of training on creating, like, stencils and stuff from another lady in the industry who's just fabulous. So she's been helping me on that as, like, a kind of private sort of lesson type thing. So it's been wonderful. And it's really helping me move forward, because I've got all these ideas, but, like, I'm not a natural, I can't do, like, all the design programs yet, but I want to. And there's other ladies in the industry actually who help me out as well. They really support me with a lot of the design work. So I sort of subcontract out all different things. And a real lovely community of ladies that do help. So anyway, we are cutting our own, because it's one of those things, if I had to buy all the stencils, like, they're just going to sit on my shelf. You don't know where they'll go, or, like, you know, like, some stencils are more popular than others. And what if you invest your money in a whole bunch of the ones that aren't? Now I can just, you know, do a design and then cut them. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm only having to invest the time and the effort when those orders come.
How long does it take to cut one out? Say, like, I can't remember the name. The one that you did on the video.
Is it that one? Behind?
I think so.
So some of them, like that one, is very intricate. So
that's right. Lots of little tiny bits, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's a tricky thing, because obviously you have to account for the time. So myself and my husband, like, cut these stencils, and the ones that are more intricate will probably need to be more expensive than the ones that are faster. So it's really important that we have stencils that are fast to cut and some that are the more intricate ones. There's one that's an absolute cracker. I took it on a cake to Cake International, and I don't know what's going on, but the time that's taken is doubled, and it's like 40 minutes to cut a stencil, and it's not a viable thing to do. So I've had to put that on hold, because until I can figure out the software better, because I think it's there's an error, and I'm thinking, what have I done wrong? It was cutting faster, but now it's I don't know what's going on. So
that's great though. So you're cutting to order. You're not stock holding. It's not just sat on the shelf, and that's really good because you don't have to predict sales. You don't have to. That's just such a nice way of work.
We've obviously got a set number of things available because we can't just go out and do stuff when the time comes. Or there's one order here or there. So we do have a small amount in stock, but it's like I won't be sitting on the numbers that most suppliers require.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great idea.
But that's the only thing that I can control. Do you know what I mean? Right now, so no, it's good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Do you enjoy that process? Is that like a nice sort of like side process for you?
So like obviously most of my products are centered around sugar flowers. Like I've got my
I was just going to ask you about your flower paste.
I love it. And I've got like macaron colours, which are phenomenal. Like they're just so good, and like lusters and stuff. So I've been building up the ranges, but it's not like I'm going to have everything for all things. It's like specifically tailored to what it is that I teach or do, my strengths. Because then it's like if it's something that I'm using, then it's a great line to add to like this sort of repertoire. But and it depends as well what they're asking for too. You know, if there's like more than one request, then like okay, like I'll have a think about that. And then some things are not viable, and some things you can't get made or do. So it's like it's a process, but
that's nice. It's like a complete package. You're creating a complete package around your classes that people can go, oh yeah, I'm doing that class, but where can I buy that? Well, actually, you can buy it from me. So it's like the whole thing that you can offer, which is really nice.
Exactly, and that's lovely to say as well because like when I was doing my first lot of night schools, a lot of the cutters that I was using, they weren't mine. Which, like there's so many amazing ones out there. I was happy to send students to shop in America, and that comes with a lot of like downsides such as customs, postage. Like it was adding on to the cost of the class quite a bit, and like you want to be able to send somebody to somewhere in the UK, and if that item's not available, and not everybody, obviously, like I didn't like say to all the companies, this is what I'm working on, because like I'm more like I'll just work on it, get it done, and then it goes out. Like I don't do like a lot of palaver beforehand. So it was like, for me, it was like I don't want to have to think too far in advance. Do you know what I mean? It's like I like to I go with the flow sometimes, like because that's the only way my brain works. It's like that's not working like that. So like let's focus on this, So it's always that last minute putting the things together.
So do you have a favourite part of your business that you do? Because you do the baking, you do the teaching, you work with different people. Is there a favourite thing that you kind of go, if that was taken away from me, that's where my heartstrings would...
Yeah, well, you get seasons in your business. And basically, my life is like done in seasons. One season is sugar flower season. Next season, it's cake decorating. Like this year has been stencil season. And then obviously last year, at the end of it, was the cake, the baking season. So I think for me, it's really important that there's variety because I don't want to get bored. And I think the break that I had from sugar flowers was brilliant because I'm now going back in. So I've just launched Rose class, and it's got like I'm feeling really super inspired again. Because when you go through the dip and you're not inspired, it's really hard to do those things and feel creative, and like it just feels super hard. Like you're wading in tar sometimes. But when you're on the way back up and you're starting to get that buzz again, it just makes everything easier to work on.
I do it because I gave up making cakes for like a short time last year. And I was done. I was like, I'm over it. I don't want to make any more cakes for anyone. I'm quite happy to just sit and write recipes in my little kitchen on my own. And I gave up cakes. There was a lot of other stuff going on in my life. But then when I got to that point, I'm like, no, I'm ready to make a few more cakes now. I'm ready to have other people ask me for things. And it is, you do get inspired because you do get to a point that you do just get done with it, don't you? You just,
oh my gosh, like
oversaturated in your own head.
Over the whole course of like doing cakes, 14 years, I've hit rock bottom several times where it's like, I not do this anymore. And it was usually because it was definitely before I started teaching that was worse, you know, because like you'd get to tax year and you'd be like, oh my God, like what, like where is the profit? Do you know what I mean in this business? Like, right, I need to do more. I can't.
I'm burnt out already. How much more can I do?
Like, when you get that dip, and it's like so many times, like, but I'm actually feeling, and it's the bizarrest thing because I never thought I would want to do wedding cakes again. I think like not going into it like as in I'm going to start wedding cakes again, but maybe like saying yes to friends who are getting married so that I can work on something creative.
Yeah.
But as long as I get full free reign, then and I so that I can create something as I go and maybe use it as a class or something like this. But it's like for me, I have to have something to work towards. Like you know, and I'm really enjoying getting back into sugar flowers. So now I've got the buzz to start making cakes again. To the flowers. So and
go around full circle.
And get the stencils on there, and I've got all these ideas. It's just not enough hours.
Do you plan all your content? So you have these ideas and then you think, right, I'm going to plan this in for Christmas next year or
well, I'm loosely planning. Like it's like so my brain's like a menu, right? So there's certain things that need to get done and there's certain things that I would like to do, and it's like, well, how do I feel today? So it's like select from the menu, but I kind of know like roundabout what I want to do. So for instance, like Laura and I are going to be releasing our next bake school, and that's probably going to be around June. So I know that we've kind of locked in the dates, but it might move because I love the flexibility that working for yourself brings. Nothing is rigid. We don't have to like pen ourselves in. If it's not working for one of us, we can say, right, actually, can we just move that back a bit? Because we're adults. We've got both of us are running 2 separate businesses as well as doing the combined stuff. And that for me is super important, is having that flexibility. So I know that I'm doing that. Also, like, so got the sugar flower class this month. It's actually May. And then I'm going to be releasing some of my stencils, and then it's on to June for the bake school. And then after that, there's a couple of things in, but they're not set in stone. So they'll move depending on me, I guess, my moods. If I feel excited, when I feel excited about stuff, that's the thing that I'll work on. It's just you get a vision, I'm going to do this, and
and also I suppose when you've got other people like Laura there as well, that kind of it's like another sort of a responsibility, but not. But it's just nice working with someone every so often as well, isn't it?
It's really, really nice actually. Like we got on like a house on fire. We've been friends for many years.
We could see that at Bake International.
You were just bouncing off each other. You just knew each other.
Of everything else, you were mate.
Yeah, exactly. And we were pregnant at the same time with our youngest. So it was like we had that connection. Obviously, we're both from Scotland. We're both into cake, and then our friendship kind of grew from that point. And then she became a cake wife. But no, it's like I think when we've got the same kind of outlook, and I think that's super important. And for me, like I love the collaborations with friends because it's too lonely without it, and it's like it breaks it up. It's like it's less scary when somebody else is there,
Right. So I believe you have something special for our listeners today.
Yes, I do. So I was thinking there's like, if one of your listeners would like to pop over to my Instagram, Suzanne Esper Cake School, and follow me and share a picture of like screenshot of them having followed me and pop it in a DM. The first one that comes through can either pick from my brand new sugar flower class for free or my brand new stencil that's getting released on Sunday.
Wow. Oh, hold it up higher so I can see it.
Because she's already buying it.
I was on your website earlier, actually, and I was putting things in my basket. I was like, no, I can't afford it today. I can't afford it today.
Next week. That'll be next week. Right, so tell us again what they need to do. So they need to come onto your Instagram.
Is come over and follow me on my Instagram and just prove it by taking a little screenshot of the one that, from your Instagram, it says you follow this person,
Yeah.
and then put it into my DMs, and I will pick the first one that comes in. Will get the pick, whatever they want.
Oh, how exciting! I don't think we've done anything like this before.
We
have
never
we?
have. We
No.
never
Right.
have.
No.
Oh, fab. I was trying to think. I always make things really complicated. So if there's, like, you know, I mean, for competitions, like whenever I've done them for cake stuff, I've made the most complicated competitions. My mum's messaged me after, why did you do that? Why didn't you just do random? And I'm like, I don't know. How can we make this fun? You know?
Right, so you've got to be speedy. You've got to go over to Suzanne's Instagram and just be
the
on
first
it.
one in. Well, I'll get this.
There's going to be some very excited listeners out there now going, oh my god.
Yeah, do come back to the rest of the podcast after you've done that, though, won't you, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Just now.
Right. So, do you have anything exciting coming up? I know you've talked about you've got more bake school coming up. What else have you got coming up then? And obviously the new stencil that you've just shown us.
Yeah, so I've got a whole range of new stencils, embossers. Obviously I need to put my laser to good use, so like I'm going to be cranking that bad boy right up. And obviously this rose class, and then after that I'll be working on some more sugar flowers. So in between Laura and I's stuff in bake school. So,
and we do hope that we will get both you and Laura on together at some point.
Honestly, it would be amazing.
It'll be a riot, but
yeah,
I don't know how much you'll be able to use. We're very well behaved.
We're not.
We'd love that.
So tell us where we can find the Suzanne Esper Cake School and all of your stuff and your socials and everything.
Sure. So I've just got a brand new website. It's moved over to, it's just Suzanne Esper cakeschool.com, and you can use Suzanne Esper Cake School on Facebook or Instagram. And I've got a YouTube channel, so do come and follow me, because I will be starting to do some more tutorials on there very soon, like the free tutorials and stuff.
Yes.
So I've got one on Sunday, by the way, if he's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, do you know, I think I've actually got a day off on Sunday.
Oh. Well, I'm actually going to demo how to stencil this bad boy.
Oh, are you? Oh,
she's there.
I like sitting and watching with a nice cup of coffee with her feet up.
Use it all nice and relaxed while I'm stressing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't go wrong. But I think the beauty of those things is, like, when it goes wrong, it doesn't bother me. It's like,
no,
you know what? Like, this happened.
But I think it's nice for us to see, because then we're like, oh, that's how you do it, or that's how you shouldn't do it, sort of thing.
I never, even in like the lessons, I never cut out the things that go wrong, because I think it's super important, like people see, especially like if they think that everything I do works out, it does not. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god, if you only knew.
Also, you're amongst friends. It doesn't matter, does it? You know, if things go wrong, you're amongst friends. Everyone understands.
The way I always look at it is, if somebody's there watching you, they're there to support you, and they're interested in what it is that you're actually showing or doing, or they just love watching sugarcraft stuff, and we've all done that. I mean, get lost on Instagram every day, and and then it's like, oh my god, I've lost half a day.
Yeah. I lose a lot of time watching people crumb coat cakes. Like I haven't crumb coated thousands of myself.
I love it, and it's like, also for me, like, I like looking at the different reels that catch my eye, because, you know, we all know how much of a chore like social media is, and it's like, what is the minimum I can do here? You know what I mean? Like, because I only have 5 minutes. Let's make it worth it. And, you know, I think like I have to get better at that, but that's what it is.
Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for coming and chatting to us today. I'm sure we could chat for a lot longer.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope we will get the chance to at some point. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Please, ladies, take care.
Bye.